Hold on to what you've got, chronicpreneurs, because today my guest is sharing her story on how she became a seven-figure online business success and how you can do it too. But first, let me remind you that Patience Getting Paid is way more than just this podcast. It's a membership community filled with people just like you with a chronic illness looking for ways to generate an income while taking better care of themselves by working online. Flexible remote work is possible, and you can learn how at patiencegettingpaid.com. By the way, if you've been sitting on the sidelines considering whether or not to jump into PGP, there's a price increase coming, so I'd say now is a great time to get your helmet on and get in the game. Elena Saris is a semi-retired criminal defense attorney, a former stand-up comic, and a seven-figure e-commerce seller. She walked away from a career she once loved to pursue her entrepreneurial dreams of personal and financial freedom. She is a sought-after speaker on mindset, marketing, and how to break into the online business world based on her unique career path, her online success, and her incomparable ability to entertain while educating. She's the co-founder of the Create Profits Online Mastermind, an active community of online sellers who are starting and growing their own online businesses with 7- and 8-figure mentors showing them the way. Welcome, Elena.
Hi, thank you for having me. This is great.
I'm so glad you're here. As I was preparing for this interview, I was trying to remember how exactly we met. I knew it had been several years ago, but I scrolled back in our chat history on Facebook and it was 2013. Isn't that crazy? That
Crazy.
is what? We were in the Internet Business Mastery Academy together. Shout out to Jason Van Orden and Jeremy Franson for that wonderful training and sparking something in each of us, right? That has now
Yeah,
resulted in you absolutely crushing it online. So congratulations with all your
thank
success,
you.
by the
That was a
way.
great group. That was
It
like my
was.
first foray.
Yeah, it
You
was so
know, just to
opened my
see that
mind to
people were making money.
possibilities.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yes, 100%. So, all right, let's start with this. Um,
Okay.
how and why did you get started in online business? Because you were an attorney, for God's sake. And by the way, your intro says semi-retired criminal defense attorney. And with my propensity for obscenities and how much I enjoy protesting, that's a good thing to know and keep in my back pocket. You might come in handy. How
Okay.
semi-retired are you?
Well, you'd have to be in California for me to help you.
No.
There's that.
Okay.
And I have my license, but the last 10 or 15 years, all I did was death penalty defense. So
Oh,
hopefully, you and I, our paths won't cross in that regard.
yes.
I always
Yeah.
have people call me and they say, "You're a lawyer. Will you help me? I'm having a problem with my landlord." And I'm like, "Well, if you kill him, I can
Yeah.
help you, but I don't suggest that as a remedy."
Oh
Because it's a
my,
very specific niche that I
that,
had. Yeah.
all right. Okay.
So
So you can't get me off, then I'll be a little more careful.
be
Um,
more.
yeah. So, how did you get started? How and why did you get started in the online
you
business?
know, at first, I loved my job. Honestly, it was a calling. I thought, and I have said this many times, I didn't even write a resume. The minute I heard, excuse me, what the job public defender was, I decided to go to law school to
You
be a
knew.
public defender. Yeah. I had no desire to be a lawyer growing up or anything like that. I just, once I found this job where, I had considered the ACLU and I had met someone who said, "Oh, you're smart, you'd be good at it, but you would shine as a public defender." I said, "What's the difference?" They said, "Well, the ACLU is mainly motion, sitting behind a computer, doing great
Oh,
work, but on,
not what you wanted.
writing."
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good at it. It doesn't float my boat. And then when they told me it was, a trial lawyer for people who have no one on their side, going up against the massive forces of the government to try to make sure they get a fair shake, I was like, sign me up, right?
You're in. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I honestly never thought I'd leave. When I was, maybe the first 10 years, this just happened with this huge lottery, right? It was like $1 billion, the Powerball. Well, I literally remember sitting around the room with my colleagues. We were probably not quite 30. And we had put in for tickets, and not a single one of us said, "Oh, when I leave, I'm going to move." We're just like, "Okay, we're going to buy each other good cars that don't break down, and we're going to have really nice lunches, and we're not going to worry about paying our rent." I mean, but we were going to
But we're
stay.
staying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that
And
is a calling. That is the
it's a
very
call.
definition of the of a calling for sure.
But
Wow.
20, years in, it just took a toll on my soul. It's hard work. I loved my clients. I worked hard for my clients. I was often the only person that was a stable influence in their life, seeing them every week, even when their family and their parents didn't. And yeah, it took its toll. And then when the office started to get a little bit political, that's when I saw the writing on the wall. And I randomly was a +1 for someone's, one of these events that just, I don't remember which one it was, but it was something about like sell your expertise. And that's what opened my eyes to it. And he had taken me because he's really shy and he wanted to meet a bunch of people. So I was just networking and I was talking to these folks. And I met one kid, he says, oh yeah, I teach people how to pass the bar. And I said, oh, did you help write the exam? Are you a grader? And he goes, no, I passed the bar. And I'm like, wait, what?
That made him an expert, right?
That made him an expert. And, while there's a little bit of, controversy over that, you don't need a PhD or a credential to teach someone something they don't know that you do know.
Yeah.
Right?
What made him an expert was that he had done it.
He had done it. Now, in that particular scenario, I mean, we never know why we got graded the way we got graded. So that one was a little off. But I mean, even if you can knit or sew or bake or cook in a particular style, I keep telling folks, there are folks out there who want to learn that stuff.
Right.
And what I was really good at was being a trial attorney. I'm really good in front of juries. I've been marketing, I came to the online world sort of late, but I've been a marketer for my clients' stories for, 35 years now. So I started the video course. I thought, I'm just going to create a video course that teaches people how to be better lawyers. And I was like, well, how am I going to reach the people I want to reach? And they said, well, they're on Facebook. You could put ads on Facebook. And first I'm like, okay, what is Facebook? And then when they told me it was that place where you were like stalking your ex and looking at cat memes and, taking pictures of your food, I was like, wait, you could put ads on that?
Yeah.
And there was this course, it was a guy named Donald Wilson, and it was called Facebook Ads Cracked. And he taught, he says, don't make it theoretical, sign up for this platform called Teespring. And Teespring would let you upload a design to a little mock of a t-shirt, create a landing page, and your ads would go to the landing page. And so I wanted to learn how to sell these videos. So I thought, okay, I'll learn with t-shirts. And I had a t-shirt that made $10,000 in 1 month. And I just thought, what?
Your eyes were opened.
I was like, I am in the wrong line. And it was not a particularly interesting, it was a good design, but it wasn't earth shattering.
And just to be clear, you were an attorney, not a designer.
Oh yeah. And I'm still, as a designer, I make a very good lawyer. Yeah. I paid a guy $30 to make this design for me. And you don't have to make something incredible. I mean, I know we're going to talk about print on demand later, but it's the fact that this design appealed to an underserved niche. So like your name is Kathy. When you went to Disneyland or places and there were license plates, there was always the choice of Kathy. There was not the choice of Elena. Now, now. But so when I saw anything with the word Elena, I took it, right? So if you're in a niche, if you're in a job that, most people don't respect or think about, you see somebody touting that and making that heroic, you're going to buy that shirt.
Yes, 100%. And I want to just give a shout out to everyone who has an unusual name, because you're 100% right. Kathy is everywhere. But my daughters are Maggie May and Reagan, and those names just weren't anywhere either. And I heard about it their entire lives.
Well, I can do that.
I digress.
I can do worse. My sister's Elnora, and to this day we can't find anything.
Yeah, that's you got to make that one yourself, I think.
Yeah. Which, by the way, you can do now.
You can do that and sell it online.
And sell it. So I learned how to make these ads, and I started to think about doing it. And somebody pulled me aside, and they said, "I don't know how to tell you this, but no one's going to buy that." Because it's making you better at your craft. But unless you can tie it in at the time, and I just said you can teach people how to bake or sew, okay? But it's some sort of self-improvement. The way the real money-making places, if I can be a tiny bit crude for a second, is teaching people to get laid, get paid, or get skinny.
Wow,
health, wealth,
and
health, wealth, and
happiness.
Happiness, not even happiness. Health is to get skinny.
Yeah.
Wealth is to get paid. Oh, and the other one is, dating, like some sort of personal relationship. And, knowing how to be a good lawyer I don't know how to get clients. My clients can't, if you can't afford a lawyer, one will be appointed to you.
Right.
I don't have client making skills. I had more clients than I knew what to do with. So I had this money from the t-shirt business. I had the bug about making money online because it was crazy to just get this at the time. This is how far ago, checks in the mail.
Right.
I bought the course that taught how to sell on Amazon at the time. And that's where it started.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Oh, this is so exciting. So I'm confident. I mean, I know that you had really, that was a calling, that was your love for a long time. You did it for a long time. And then kind of maybe a little burnout set in. That's heavy stuff. But I'm confident you still had big concerns about leaving the career that you knew and had built.
I did.
Like what were some of
They
those
were kind of threefold. I mean, one, just from being so passionate about it. And I think anyone who's in any kind of helping industry, like law enforcement, teachers, nurses, there's an arrogance to it, but there's also a compassion for it. Like, if I leave, who's going to help these people?
Yes.
I mean, you can hear the arrogance as I say it, but it really is, it's a sincere
It's born of the heart, though. It really isn't. I get why you're using the word arrogance, but it really isn't for most, I would say. I think it really truly is like what these poor people, like I'm helping them, and I can't leave them because I want to help them some more.
Yeah, exactly. And you meet people who punch a clock in those jobs still. Yeah. And then you meet people who have, fire and passion. And then so if you're one of those people, you feel even worse. Right. There was part of the, this, of course, the idea of, I'm making decent money as a lawyer. I'm used to a certain standard of living. Am I going to crash and burn and have to, put my tail between my legs and go get a corporate job? Mm-hmm. And then finally, just, the sort of, which I didn't care about too much, but it does cross one's mind. I'm going to look like an idiot. I'm going to look like an idiot if I, try this and it fails. Mm-hmm. And I will say that I did not understand, even when I made enough money to replace my income, which I had done by basically almost 6 to 8 months. Wow. I did not understand how much mental space was satisfied and level, knowing that you had a paycheck coming in every 2 weeks, right?
Yes. Isn't that the truth? And you knew
exactly what it was, down to the penny, right? And it was directly deposited into your bank. Yes. And even when I was making more than that, there was still this sort of like, is it always going to be there? Is the internet going away? And
right.
You've been online. We were talking about 2013. Think about all the changes.
Yeah, crazy.
I mean, a platform changes, like Apple iOS recently updated their platform to say that mobile users can opt out of people collecting their personal data. Well, I know hundreds of people who lost their stores.
That was it. Yeah.
We were relying on very cheap, very targeted traffic. I mean, there's that meme where this little boy's on the computer and Mark Zuckerberg is standing over him, and the little boy looks up and says, "My dad says you're spying on us." And Zuckerberg says, "Yeah, he's not your dad." I mean, the amount of information they have on us was crazy, but to an advertiser, that was the dream.
Mecca. Yes.
Yeah. And so they had to change their whole algorithm. And for people who were selling these items from China in the drop ship model, which was, one day you sell an ice scraper and the next day you sell a musical instrument and the next day you sell a pair of pants, they were $30, $40. So our average order value wasn't high enough to pay tons to get to hire the customer. Mm-hmm. So when that happened, you had to either find a way to make your average order value higher, to get, oh, you want this, take this. Oh, you get half off twice if you get two. Right. Or just stop drop shipping and sell one thing, make your store a store people go to specifically. Because before we were just advertising product pages. Mm-hmm. Hey, you want this ice scraper? Come here. And 90% of the people who bought my stuff would say, oh, I bought it from Facebook. They didn't even understand it was a real.
Right. Yeah. They didn't know they were going anywhere else.
Right.
Because they started on Facebook.
But to get over the final hurdle, and I've told this before, and I mean, this idea of giving up on your calling was when I was in church one day and I was sitting in the back talking to someone, and my friends were still in the pew talking to this older man, and they kept pointing to me and pointing to him and doing these, talk to this guy motion. Right. If you're listening to this audio, it's like, little hands like, talk to him. And I'm like, okay. And he walked over and I'm like, I guess I'm supposed to talk to you. And he said, He goes, yeah. He goes, I heard you're really thinking about leaving a job that you see as a calling. And I'm like, yeah, I am. And it's hard. And I told him a little bit like we just talked about. And he says, well, I want you to know I was a priest. So I know what you're talking about and I'm not anymore. And then he went
Wow.
on to tell me how he just, the calling was lost and he found another calling. And he literally stands up, does the whole, genuflect thing. And he blesses and says, it's called chapter 2 and you're allowed.
Oh my gosh. So, wow, you got permission, absolution, all
And
together, wrapped from a former
And it
priest.
wasn't like I needed a stranger to tell me that, but it did in the moment feel like this God shot, like, you know what? Who says you have to stay with a
Yes.
calling if you're miserable? And in the last few years, I was not happy. It was
Hmm.
really, I describe it as soul weary. I was, yeah.
Well, and I just want to take a second out of this conversation to address that because I think that's something that can get lost really easily, particularly with folks with a calling, or they feel the heaviness of having helped people and what if I leave? And like we just talked about.
Yeah.
You know what I think gets lost a lot is caring for ourselves.
Yeah.
Self care is so overlooked. And it's so important. And it just it reminds me of, you know, this is kind of everybody's example, but on the flight, right? When the
Right.
oxygen drops down and they say put it on yourself first. Same notion. Like if you're passed out, you can't help anybody else, right? Same notion. If and it's not just about physical and mental. There's emotional health that needs to be addressed and needs to take precedence in our own lives. And I just want people to hear that and hear that
Yeah.
if you need permission, I'm giving you permission. Like,
Right.
take care of yourself. And if you can't do it just for yourself, know that you're bringing a better you to the world and to those that you are helping by taking care of yourself.
Right.
When
Yeah.
I'm depleted, I'm not as great a mom, 100%. When I'm depleted, I'm not as great a coach in PGP, 100%. Take care of yourself.
True.
And if this calling is no longer a calling, recognize it and find
Walk away.
something else that's going to light you up because we only have but a short amount of time.
Yeah, and there's other ways you can help. I mean, I was helping a specific subgroup of people that
Right.
were in desperate need of help with a specific skill set that I possessed that not a lot of people possessed. Not just being a lawyer, but being a good lawyer and being as compassionate and pathetic as I was. But
Yes.
now it's like it's different. Like I'm helping people learn how to make
Mm-hmm.
money online. I'm helping
Mm-hmm.
people who are, underemployed, not employed, or just miserable. And
Mm-hmm.
just, people who have that. I mean, can you imagine that feeling I had when I was replacing my income and worried about money all the time? And there are millions of people who have the full-time job and are basically like one serious car accident or one,
Yes.
emergency
Yes.
away. And to me, it's like just being able to know, like the other day, my car got broken into. They smashed the
So
window and they took some stuff out. And I have a friend who's about 30 and he had a car parked right there too. And they just opened his door and took something from him. And what they took from him was worth about $1,000. And, he's employed to the point where he can make his rent and, but that was, and it really caught me
oh,
like, I was so grateful that they broke my window and not his because
yeah.
I'm insured. I don't
Right.
have a job I'm going to miss, when I go
Right.
tomorrow to get it fixed.
Right.
I can replace what was in the car. It's
Yes.
and
Yeah.
so that to me, and
So true.
ironically, this is somebody who the same guy contacted me 2 weeks ago and says, "Will you help me learn how to make money online?" Because
Oh.
it doesn't have to be that you leave your job. We met in 2013. At 2014, I was getting off of a very, very, hard job and still going to a WeWork office for 3 or 4 hours a night. And I did that for 4 years until I felt like
Exhausting.
I could make this work, to leave,
Yeah, that is such a great point. And it's one I try to make that I feel like sometimes I don't make it I don't make it clear enough in my marketing that PGP isn't just for people who want to like leave the cubicle life behind. It is literally there are gigs in there. There are surveys and some people are just looking for just a little something extra,
Yeah.
to know that they've got some margin in their life or they keep their full-time job, but they want to get something going because, as we've all seen, something like, oh, I don't know, a pandemic can come out of nowhere and you lose your job. And then what? I mean, it's this, income instability is so stressful.
It takes such a toll
Oh
on
my
your mind.
gosh. And when you have a chronic illness, well, it's stress is the worst thing for anyone, period.
Yeah, true.
Chronic illness, this stress is dialing up our inflammatory response, which dials up our chronic blah, 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 blah. I think that even just starting a little something, something, even learning about it and knowing that there's something else out there that you could do if you needed to, even if you're not ready to right this second. I just think that gives you, I don't know, the ability to sleep, gives you some hope, gives you, if something devastating were to happen, you're not without hope. You're like, wait a minute. I remember learning about this. Hey, I could start this, or I already started this, and I can work on this now. Gives margin, gives breathing room.
And I've heard you say this before that I think is a really good analogy. You've said it's a runway. It's a runway, and it for me, I wasn't thinking at the time, oh, I want to do this so I can leave my job. I was thinking, I want to have this as a, mentally, it was a mental thing. Like, I want to have this knowing that if I got to the point where I really was going to be crazy, that I could leave my job. And then as it started to go, about 2016, I was like, or 14 or 15, I was like, hey, you know what? Yeah,
this could be it.
Could happen. Yeah.
Yeah. But I do love that you mentioned that it wasn't like you just made the decision and jumped. I mean, and there's room for that. There's
sure. I mean, if you're living with your parents and you're 24 years old, that's a different story. Or if you have people to support, which I did not. And I mean, that's a big deal too. So
it is.
My parents who I had been supporting had passed away. I don't have children. So I have my niece and my nephew, which I feel, an obligation towards, but not a responsibility per se.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that makes sense. I think it does parents more than aunts, but I mean, they're obviously, I'm going to take care of them no matter what, but it's not, and they're being taken care of. They have parents who,
there's another layer.
Yeah. But because of what I was able to accomplish and the extra money that I had, when my brother was faced with the option of, my niece wanted to go to a specific school that he really would have had a hard time affording, I was able to just pay for that without an issue. And that's a big deal. And
what a gift.
Even like, I mean, just stupid. I mean, it's not stupid, but small stuff. Like our church just had a drive where they're collecting money to make these trailers to give showers to the homeless. And for me, giving $100 to that is no big deal, or 200, whatever, that kind of stuff. You just feel like,
I just said, what a gift. And I meant that that was absolutely a gift to your brother and your niece. But what I meant was, what a gift for you to feel like that.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, what a gift to just be able to
have your car you and have the first thought be gratitude. That this allows you.
Yes. Particularly for those who are givers anyway and caretakers and whatnot, like it's quite obvious you are, that this just becomes gift upon gift upon gift, because you're able, then you make and therefore you can give, right? Yeah. Not everybody's going to look at it that way, but that's a great way to look at it. And wouldn't it be a beautiful world if everybody did? But this gives you margin to do that. So you do so many things online. I'm not even sure where to start, but my goal is to expand the chronics' minds and understand what's possible for them online. So let's talk about print on demand. You mentioned that earlier, which, thanks to you, I now know is referred to as POD, because she texted me POD and I had to ask her, what's POD?
It's not an okay boomer moment. You can say print on demand. It's just when you're writing it, most people will write POD.
All right. Well, now I can hang with the cool kids because I know what POD is.
Right. I think that means it's a good time to show my first prop.
Okay.
Anyone out there thinking they are too old or too non-techie to start in this world, I want to show you. My first car could play this 8-track player.
And it is an 8-track. And I recognize him, but I can't think of what his name is.
Sean Cassidy. He was
Sean Cassidy, David's little brother.
David's
Partridge Family, yes.
And when I first started at the public defender's office, this is literally what they gave me to store my files on.
Floppy disk.
Elena's disc. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Floppy disk. I was just
And
explaining that concept to my daughter the other day, how we would take it, I would take it out of my computer at work and then come home and put it into my computer here. That's how we transferred files.
and the save button is still a floppy disk, which, makes no sense at all anymore, right?
Right, right, right. Nobody
So
else understands that, probably.
I just never want to miss the opportunity to say, if anyone out there feels like they're being held back because they're of a certain age or they don't understand technology, if you can attach a picture to an email, you can be successful online.
That's huge.
Don't know how to do that, call your grandkid, call your kid. You'll learn that in about 2 minutes. And literally, that is the technology required. And that wasn't always the case. So you are right for feeling that way, because in the
Yes.
old days, you really
Oh,
had
God.
to have some kind of knowledge.
Yes, you did. And it was
Not anymore.
intimidating. And I'm so glad that you took time out to say those very words, because that's something that if you have dealt with that back in the day, it sticks with it's trauma. It
It is
is
drama.
traumatizing, and it continues to, live over and over in your mind. But I love that you said things have changed now.
Things have
Technology's
changed.
changed.
It's
It's user
drag and
friendly.
drop, cut and paste. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
love that. And that's okay. So let's talk about POD,
Okay, so
print on
POD,
demand.
this is what's beautiful about it now. So if you there are all these platforms now. You could go on a site called Gear Bubble and you could say, I want to sell a t-shirt, I want to sell a pillowcase, I want to sell a Christmas ornament, I want to sell jewelry. And they literally have a platform where you get your own little page on that. Okay.
Okay.
I mean, you can do that, but they also have an app, which just is the same as an iPhone app, that you can put on your own store. So you open a Shopify store, you can put their app on this store. And it lets
Mm.
you literally open up your computer and you see a mock-up, like just a t-shirt, one of those
Yeah.
blank shirts or a blank cell phone case. You upload a design to that, okay? And then you offer it for sale.
Can we just
So
stop for a second?
yeah,
When you say upload a design, I just want to go back to what we said earlier. You don't have to be a designer. It doesn't have to be something that you've done or even come up with, right?
yeah.
Concept wise, you can hire somebody
It
at
can
like
be
Fiverr or
yeah,
Upwork or wherever.
$10. Yeah, it can be text. I have this great story from October of 2017 where I commissioned these beautiful t-shirts of very famous cities landmarks, and I made them Halloweenish. So like the Statue of Liberty had bats flying around and her eyes were, and they were just so cool. And I put them up, for sale, and that you could say, oh, only show them to people in New York or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And earlier in the month, I had been at this POD conference. It was a merch by Amazon conference. Amazon itself has a platform called Merch, short for
Oh,
merchandise, where you can do the same thing. And I had spent some time with this kid helping him out, and he sends me this design, and it's a circle with the words "Rockin' the Nanny Life." Okay, and I was
oh,
like, wasn't that
okay.
sweet? He sent me this really ugly, stupid
Yeah.
design to be nice. So, but you
Right.
know what? It takes 3 minutes to put something up, and it's a numbers game.
Why not?
I put it up. It outsold my Halloween t-shirt 6 to 1.
Wow.
6 to 1.
Wow. Holy cow. Who knew that
Nannies,
there were
much
that
like
many
our nannies,
nannies out
right?
there?
Nannies
Right.
don't, but there's not anything that are lauding them either, right?
Wow. Now all those creative brains out there listening to this are coming up with all kinds of ideas. And good for
Teachers,
you.
assistants, I mean, any of
Right.
those.
Right.
So, but again, and this is, you have to drive traffic to the store. So
Yeah.
if I can preach for a moment,
Yeah. So the product's just the one thing, but then
so
how
one thing,
yeah. They're not
yeah,
going to, if you build it, they won't come. You got to drive
they are not
traffic.
the field of dreams.
Yeah.
They aren't, it's not happening. Three things, every platform, every way people make money online: put up an offer, build traffic to that offer. When you convert that offer, you get an email list of customers. Those are the three things. And there's three levels. There's awareness, evaluation, and conversion. You got to make people aware of your offer. You got to give them some reason when they're evaluating between your offer and other similar offers, why you. And you've
Mhm.
got to give them a platform that they feel safe and secure. They're not being cheated or scammed to purchase from. That is less important. I mean, it is important, but in the early days when people weren't used to buying everything online, that was a really big deal.
Right. Yeah. Where's
So
this going? Yeah.
yeah, you
Yeah.
take something like Amazon merch, which is Amazon, right? The only reason people are going to Amazon is to buy something. So you have the awareness of, or at least you have customers who want to buy, customers who know they're about to get their credit card out for something.
Right.
With a regular Amazon product, like a garlic press, you can do all these keywords and whatever, because people type in the word garlic press. With the merch, you have to be so niche specific though, because who's going to type in, nanny? I mean, somebody might type in nanny t-shirts and that's what you're counting on. But if you just have a funny cartoon, that's really, or a really pretty piece of art. Like I have a friend who's an artist who makes the most amazing, like Japanese watercolor kind of paintings, but people, how do you get people to search for those?
Right.
Right.
Yep.
So you're on the one hand, you're at an advantage because you have an ecosphere of people who are buyers. On the other hand, you have to have awareness. People have to know what they're looking for. And then you have to compete with other people within that niche, which I'm assuming for the nanny t-shirts. I mean, maybe now there's competition. There was obviously none when I did it.
Yeah.
So, and the amount of money you are going to spend on traffic is going to be directly correlated to at what stage of this customer journey are you hitting them? Because if you own your own store, if you want to do a print on demand store, and these apps make it totally easy, because when you plug it into your store, then that little mock-up goes on your store. When someone orders it, in the old days, we were sitting there with spreadsheets. And it would be like Elena Saris, size medium, living in LA,
address.
And now it's just boom, it's automatic. You have a credit card on it.
Yeah.
Within 5 minutes of you ordering, it goes and they ship it out to your customers. So that's not an issue anymore, but you are responsible for all 3 stages of that customer's journey. You have to make them aware your store exists. You have to show them something on your store worth buying, and you have to show them that they won't be scammed and they will actually get a t-shirt when they pay for that t-shirt.
Right. And just to be super, super clear, when we're talking about a store, we're talking about something online. This is not a physical store.
Yes.
And the store can be, you could have a website with a store, but you're referencing that some of these, I think you said Teespring, I know Printful also.
Yeah.
They sort of have that all built out for you, and you can I think you can have sorry, what am I trying to say? The not vanity URL, but the URL that you choose can be,
Correct.
On the back end. Right. But you're not building all this stuff, is my point.
Right.
But it's an online store then that you populate with your products in there, and then it's up to you to go out there and send people. And by traffic and buying traffic, you're talking about digital ads on Facebook, ads on YouTube, ads on Instagram, those kinds of things.
Or creating a Facebook group of cat lovers. Yeah. And then inviting people to join that, and then creating designs within that niche, whether it's your page on the Gear Bubble or Printful platform, or whether it's your own Shopify store. By the way, you can build a Shopify store for $150 now, $100. If you have WordPress, you could have, there's something called WooCommerce, which is just a plugin. You can have things for sale. They take care of the credit card processing. They take care of all that. You don't need to go get a merchant account. You just literally need to put in your personal details and your banking information, and it's done.
Yes, and everybody can check that one of those out that I did. I have WooCommerce on my WordPress site on fumsnow.com/shop. Easy peasy. I just get notifications telling me when something is sold, and I really need to get over there and clean it up a little bit. But yeah, I could be doing so much more. But anyway, that will show you the general concept of it.
And I'll tell you, I prefer my own store to the platforms, even though the platform's a little easier. I would tell people, take the extra hour to learn the regular store, because you get the customer information, you have access right away to the email list. And let's say you have this cat store that is famous for these funny t-shirts about cats. You can also then source from AliExpress something you can drop ship that's a cat collar or a cat scratch toy or a cat, I don't have a cat, but whatever they have.
Right. Stuff. Cat stuff.
And you're not paying to acquire the customer because they're already on your store, because you paid to get them there for the t-shirt.
Yes. And that is a great point at which to mention what gold an email is from people, because to your point, if it's on somebody else's real estate, you don't own that. But if it's on your real estate and you're capturing that information, you can go. And the easiest place to sell is to the low hanging fruit, to those that you have already sold to. They
Yeah.
already know who you are, and they've seen that they actually order and then you send it to them and they
Right.
have no issues. So they're going to be a lot more comfortable buying from you the second time. So if it's yours, you've captured that email address, you can go back to that well and tell them, hey, I have new products in your niche that are going to be right up your alley. How about these? Ta-da.
Right, right. And you
Yeah.
can give them discounts because you're not paying for the ads. So you make the same amount of money with a 20% off coupon, and they're happy about that.
Yes. You
Yeah.
can reward them, reward your
Right,
members, so to
right.
speak.
That's why your own real estate. I mean, people
Yes.
tell me I make millions on Amazon. I'm okay, as long as you realize, and you can, don't get me wrong, Amazon's a traffic source, and so is Facebook.
Yes.
They're not businesses. Now they have ways that you can sell them, but the minute they change their policy, you are a slave to whatever that change is. They just made a recent big change to like returns. And as it was, Amazon is very customer friendly.
Yes.
I mean, I used to do liquidation where I would get batches of Amazon returns, and they would say, oh, these are Adidas and they just were the wrong size. And then you open the box and it's like 20-year-old pair of Adidas that they just put in that Amazon refunded them for because they side with the customer.
Gosh.
So and that's fine. Listen, it's great, right? When I first started on Amazon, they take a 15% piece of the sale, and then they charge a pick and pack fee, which varies on, if you're selling a necklace, it's not much. If you're selling a lawnmower, it's a lot more.
Right.
And you're like, wait, they take care of all customer service. This is great. They take care of all returns. I don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're building Amazon's customer list.
Yes.
You're not building your own customer list.
Yes.
And everyone says, when I always say that, they call me later and they say, oh, there's ways to do it. Yeah, there are ways to do it. Some of them black hat, some of them white hat. You can put an insert in your box and say, hey, if you want a warranty. But how many of us, I don't fill out a lot of those warranty cards.
No. And who needs extra steps? I mean, what we're talking about is trying to simplify and streamline things. We don't need extra steps.
Right. But it is a trade-off, because what does Amazon bring you?
All kinds
A
of
whole
stuff.
lot of people who want to shop.
A lot of people,
A whole lot of
yes.
people
Truth.
who want to shop.
So I would guess you advocate for having multiple streams of income then. Do stuff with Amazon, but do things elsewhere.
I actually won't recommend Amazon private label anymore. I'm not saying it's not okay to do. It's just, and it's got huge income potential. But honestly, I'm saying this, whether it's controversial or not, if you don't have $15,000 at least to start, don't do it.
Okay.
Because you're going to have to take some sort of course to learn how to do it. You have to buy all of your inventory up front. You have to then do a massive giveaway to get reviews, which you're not making any money on those. Then you have to also put in sponsored ads. Can you do it? Absolutely. Are there easier, better ways to do it? Yes. Amazon. Yeah.
Can you give me a definition of what private label means? What
private label means the item is yours. You've private labeled it. So
gotcha.
There's a farm somewhere in the Midwest that has, peas, green peas. If you go to Kroger, they put it in a bag and they put a label on it that says Kroger. If you go to Ralph's, I don't know where everyone in the country, there's Ralph. It's the same farm. It's the same peas.
Right.
Kim Kardashian had a supplement. She's not in the lab mashing up things with pestle and mortar, right?
Oh, don't ruin what we think of Kim K.
Oh, sorry.
Just kidding.
Sorry.
Just kidding.
But she's not a scientist, is my point. She has good qualities, bad qualities. But here's my point. I had the #2 best-selling probiotic on Amazon in 2014 or 15. I didn't know what a probiotic was. I just went to a supplier who said, we will put your label on that item. And that's what it is. You can go further. You can contract with the lab or contract with a factory in China to say, hey, you know what, there's this garlic press, but the way your garlic press does, it doesn't work because the holes aren't fat enough. And you could have them make a mold and you could create something new. I could go to the lab and say, hey, why don't you put magnesium in whatever? I obviously can't, because that would be poisoning, because as a chemist, I make a very good lawyer. But I mean, you can do that. You don't have to, but you can. And the more that you do that, actually, the more beneficial it is, because you are the only one selling that.
Doing that one thing. Yeah.
Doing that one thing.
But that's, okay, so that is different though. When you say don't do the Amazon private label thing anymore, that's different than Amazon merch.
Totally different than Amazon merch. Amazon merch is, there's 5 different ways to sell on Amazon. The private label, then there's buying from a wholesale distributor. So let's pretend you're a Circle K or a 7-Eleven store. I'm trying to come up with universal country.
Yeah, everybody knows 7-Eleven.
I know 7-Eleven because this is how my sister gives directions. She says, turn left at the 7-Eleven. Like, I don't know.
Love that.
So, but if you're 7-Eleven, you've got, bread and Colgate, toothpaste and ice cream and all these things. 7-Eleven didn't manufacture those. There's a wholesaler that they shop from. You can do that on Amazon, and there's software that shows you, hey, this is you contact the wholesale distributor and say, this is a list of everything we have in stock. This is how many units we have. This is how much it costs. This is the SKU. This is this. And then there's software that will take pre-existing Amazon listings for those things, let's say Colgate toothpaste, and we'll merge them and say, hey, okay, yeah, if you sold Colgate toothpaste, you could be a competitive seller, one of 4 competitive sellers, and you could make $1.50 on this. And that is what I would, if you're desperate to go into Amazon, I would suggest that over private label, because it's all, and don't get upset that it's spreadsheets, because the software does it for you. And there are virtual assistants who actually know how to do that. You can actually go into these sites to hire assistants who have experience in this and can just run the software for you. And you're going to pay how to learn how to do it. You're going to pay for the software. You're going to pay a license for that. You're going to pay for the virtual assistant for that. But then they say, okay, here's what I would do if I were you. I would order this many units for here. The beauty is, let's say you find out, this is a very simplified example, there are 100 units of Colgate toothpaste being sold a month. There are 3 competitive sellers. So Amazon, your competition there is showing Amazon that you can be a competitive seller. You can get it to the customer on time for that price. Okay. And every time someone hits the add to cart button, that the vendor in that add to cart button switches. It's called the buy box. The customer is getting the same thing, but the seller can be different. So if you know that there are 3 sellers and let's say 4 sellers, so I can do the math.
Okay.
You know, there are 4 sellers and there's 100 units being sold. They're each selling 25 units. You know then that if you become a competitive seller and you're going to be the 5th person, that you can expect, on average, all things being equal, which is a phrase very fraught with danger and misinterpretation, you're going to sell 20 units a month.
Yes.
Rather than having to go to China or this, wholesale manufacturer of supplements and buy 1,000 units at a time or 5,000 units at a time, you buy 40 units, you buy 2 months worth, and you don't have storage fees at Amazon because they go and, so you've got to keep track of inventory costs. But to me, built-in traffic source, 0 competition. You just have to prove to Amazon that you can, get it there on time and that you're going to be, it's going to be in stock and stay in the buy box.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you have hundreds and thousands of units, I know people that have thousands and thousands of units, but even a few hundred, okay, so you're only making $2 on that unit, but I have, 1,000 of these.
Right. Now we're talking.
Then there's Amazon merch, right?
Okay.
Which is, again, niche specific is the best way to go on that. You can only put up 10 designs initially.
Okay.
And then you graduate when you've made a certain number of sales to 25 to 50 to 100. The people I know who are making thousands of it have either, number one, hit on an incredible trend and it just went viral. The example that I always give is the person who made this t-shirt for the 2017 eclipse.
Oh,
I mean, that made
yeah,
6 figures.
saw that coming, huh?
For people who are smart, and it was a good design, or people who are tiered up to the 2,000 level. I would say most people on merch make in the hundreds, not thousands of dollars.
Okay.
The most person. So I've recently written a book where every one of these is described and explained. And I did something no one else has done. I feel like opening the kimono or, kind of being, whistleblower. Like, I tell you what the average person can expect to earn in each of these platforms. And there's always going to be outliers. There's going to be dabblers. And there's going to be people who just work 17 hours a day. God love them. It's not me. I mean,
neither.
That was me when I was 25, trying to get a man off death row or whatever, but not here.
Right.
But the average person, like, this is, if someone says they're successful, what does that mean? Now, the gurus let's say you buy a course. 90% of people who buy a course to learn how to do something online are never going to finish it.
They don't even,
So you only have 10% that are successful. And of those, maybe half of 1% are phenomenal. And those are the ones that the gurus use to advertise their course.
Sure.
As if
over and over.
And I'm not saying they're lying. Obviously, it's possible.
No, they're capitalizing on
the Tom
less
Brady.
than 1%.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And so
Yeah.
it's important to know what, you can still be quite successful
Mm-hmm.
and just not be in that, range. And the other thing,
Right.
when you see screenshots online, please, like when I first opened my own Shopify store, I had a revenue of $48,000 and I posted it in the group I was in and I got all these rave reviews. And then I literally came back the day later and say, I fooled every one of you. That was a completely legitimate screenshot.
Oh.
I had spent so much on ads and not calculated the cost of goods right that I lost $16,000.
Oh my gosh.
And the owner of the group, he goes, you are my hero. He goes, because who else is going to admit that,
Right.
it was a lesson, because I knew they were young. There were a lot of young guys and saying, don't listen to screenshots. I
Yes.
saw a screenshot yesterday saying that they made $50,000 or $80,000 in a month on Shopify. And it said November 15th to December 15th, but it didn't say the year.
Oh,
So if
yes.
you're on Facebook on 2017
Yes.
and you only made $50,000 in
Yeah.
November to December, you've done something wrong. Now, if you're doing it
100%.
now,
Yeah.
great. But you make sure that when you see the screenshots, you get the date of the screenshot and then you get a breakdown. What was your ad spend? What was your
Yes.
cost of goods? Because revenue,
Exactly. Yes.
basic. Anybody
Yes.
can generate revenue online.
Yes. Yeah. That's a good business 101 tip for sure.
Just so many scammers out there. It makes me crazy.
Me too. That was one of the main reasons, honestly, that I started Patients Getting Paid, because
Good for you.
I fell prey to,
Yeah.
I'll admit it, I fell prey to scam courses, a scam coach, who's still out there, by the way. Anyway, and I eventually figured it out on my own. And then I realized I was making more working for myself and taking so much better care of myself. And then it became an obligation. Like, I need to tell other people with chronic illness how I did it. Just show my breadcrumbs, and help them
Right.
to avoid all those scammers, because I swear to goodness, there's more scammers online than offline, which I never would have thought true. But boy,
Oh, of course,
it's
'cause
unreal.
they can just I knew Shopify sellers who would make 300 orders a day, open 6 stores and do that and never fulfill a single one. But by the time the
Oh my
300 store was
gosh.
gone.
Oh my gosh. See, that
And
would
then
have
they
never
would sell
even
a course on how they're
occurred to
making all
me.
this money.
Oh, it's so bad. So bad.
Yeah.
Terrible
Let me get
people.
one more thing on
Please.
Amazon.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
other way. So we have
yeah.
private label, what I call wholesale. There's arbitrage, which, arbitrage is sort of fun to me. It feels like a garage sale. Like you go to Walmart and you buy a bunch of items and then you sell them for a higher price on
Yeah.
Amazon,
That
which is
seems like
totally legal.
so much work,
Some
though.
people think it's fun. I mean, you can do it. You can do it
Yeah.
all online with spreadsheets. You can do it online. You can totally do it without going into the
Mhm.
thing. And there's software. I probably shouldn't poo-poo it too much because I know people doing okay with it.
Yeah.
It's just it's not a great scalable business, even
Yeah.
if you're not physically going to the market. But
Mhm.
the other one is books. You can publish books on the Amazon marketplace called Kindle Direct Publishing. You can publish a book you've written. You can publish a ghost series, a ghost written series.
Mhm.
So there's a whole program out where you research niches that are popular but underserved. You got to get specific. I mean, we're not
Yes.
talking about like romance. Okay, girl, romance. This is a example I use in my book. Romance is great. Okay, vampire romance.
Yeah.
Okay, better. It's a little
Right.
bit better.
Niching down.
Lesbian vampire romance.
Right.
We're a little more specific.
Right. Just keep
You
coming
just
in.
because
Yes.
there's competition in all those niches and people don't know you. But the beauty of those kind of niches and series books, like Harry Potter type series,
Yes.
or even like Harlequin, which doesn't have the same characters over and over, but it has a formula.
Right.
Like Encyclopedia Brown. You remember that?
Yes.
We were
Yes.
yeah,
Yes. Yes. I
murder, like that
do.
television show Murder She Wrote.
Murder, She Wrote. Yes.
Okay, how come she was never a murder suspect? I mean,
Completely
every town
right.
she went to, someone was killed.
Yeah.
All right.
Somebody should have looked into Angela
Somebody should have
Lansbury.
looked into that. I think probably the biggest serial killer of all time, but not a
Probably.
popular opinion.
I
At any
love that.
rate,
Yes, formulaic is
formulaic.
sells.
And once when you have people who buy that, you can sell them the next series and the next series.
Yes.
Now, you don't get the customer's name on Amazon when you do that, but you do get an author page. So people will look for you to buy that.
Right.
There's another way called low content or no content book, and people are very big on this, but let me tell you, super saturated. Puzzle books, coloring books, journals, with really, you have a journal, but it has a quote on the bottom, like a journal for gardeners,
Right.
plants today, whatever. I'm not saying don't do it, but go in with your eyes wide open. There's zero risk, by the by. You can put one of these books up for $10. Takes maybe, if you're brand new to uploading a book on KDP, maybe, I mean, the worst case scenario, I mean, if you're drinking tea and watching the game, maybe an hour. Super folk, I can do it in 10 minutes now. I mean, you have to wait for it to upload. That's the only thing. 72 hours for the book to get approved. And then it's up there. You price it whatever you want. As you put in the price, you see Amazon's cut and you see what you get. So it's like, if I price it at $9.99, I'll get this. And then you just painting that to get to the bottom. You don't have to know math. It does it all for you.
Oh, hallelujah.
Hallelujah. The person I know who's making about she's making about $2,500 a month on that. She has 2,000 books up.
Holy smokes.
Now, again, that's one person's example.
Right.
But it is a numbers game. But again, if you have a super specific niche, coloring books for, Bible story coloring books for kids.
Yeah. Right.
Pay someone $10 to make one. Try it. Put it up.
Right. Exactly. Why not? What do you got to lose? Also, I just want to put in a plug for writing ebooks. My best friend and I wrote an ebook several years ago. And the beauty about that is we wrote it once. And I honestly need to go back and market that baby, because I've just kind of parked it there and left it there, but it's still selling. It's still selling.
And that's what I'm talking about with books. I'm talking about ebooks, paperbacks, and hardbacks. They're all available to do that on this platform. And if that ebook had a specific niche, which I'm guessing it did, then you create a series of those.
Yes. Yes. That's always been in the back of my mind. No, this was all about MS, in fact. And so
and that's something people search for.
I've often thought, go back and, this was symptom specific. And I thought, I need to go back, because God knows there are a million damn symptoms. I could go back and anyway.
People do very, very well on that. And I will say there's very few sources of passive income. But there are, in fact, the only source of passive income that I really believe is passive income is when you make an investment and don't touch it. You're buying real estate. You're not the one fixing it up. You're just paying for that's passive income.
Or getting an inheritance.
Inheritance is
that
really
would be passive income.
Unless, of course, you killed the person. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Back to my old job.
Murder, She Wrote. We're back to that.
But I mean, you can be an affiliate marketer. It's passive income. No, it's not. You've got to build a website. You've got to find an offer. You've got to drive traffic to that offer. But with books, it's work up front.
One and done.
Passive income.
Amen.
But you had to write the book or pay to have the book written. And I'm going to tell you one.
There is some work.
My next one, which is amazing opportunity I just found out about, and it's called publishing books that are in the public domain. There's a site called Gutenberg, which has 50,000 books. Dracula. You ever heard of these? Pride and Prejudice, Frankenstein. You can publish these. Now, you can put them up on the Amazon platform. So what you do is you go to Gutenberg and you see the HTML. You can read all these books online. You download them, you format them to very specific guidelines, whether you want an ebook, a paperback, or a hardback. There are copyright laws. Now, in general, if you are an author that has been dead, if the author has been dead for 70 years, you're an author that's been dead for 70 years, I'm sorry.
You're amazing.
But,
let yourself be seen. We've got questions.
But there are things you have to learn. For instance, Sherlock Holmes, that is not copyright, but it is trademarked. Winnie the Pooh went into the public domain, but the golden bear with the red shorts, that's a trademark. So you can't read. So there are certain things you got to be careful of.
You got to know the quirks.
And if you violate them, you will lose your account. So it's very important to get good training on this. But once you download that file, you create the cover, you create the description on the back, okay? And then you select keywords that you think people are going to be looking for. And you try to find ones that are unique, right? Because how many copies of Pride and Prejudice? Right. I try and get really funky with it. So I got into it very deeply before a change. And the change kind of derailed me. Again, a policy change on Amazon. And then I started with this mastermind and some other things that I do, and I sort of left it alone. And I have like 200 books and make a couple hundred. I haven't even looked. I make a couple hundred a month, but there are people that make $5,000 a month just sitting there once these are done, but they have, again, a high volume of books.
Right.
But it's fun if you like literature, because you're like remembering these books that you had to read as kids.
Right.
You can upload that formatted file to an ebook exactly as is, but you cannot charge for it. KDP does not let you charge money for something that someone can get for free online. So if you want to do an ebook, you have to annotate it somehow or illustrate. You can get pictures you can find in the public domain or create yourself.
Oh my gosh.
But the paperbacks, 100% exactly what you download in format is up there. So there are 12 copies. Crazy. If you go to your local Borders or Barnes and Noble, there's several copies of Dracula. The inside is the exact same, word for word.
Right.
What's the difference is what drew, is it large print? Does it look like a, so you know,
sexy Dracula picture on the front.
Dracula picture, especially books for like, you know, people say no one reads paperbacks. People read paperbacks. People buy paper. And ones that kids have to read for school. I mean, like most books about, I'll give you an example. I'll give you one of my best trade secrets here. What was it? Crime and Punishment. Okay. Most people have a really boring picture of the author. I have bloody hands and a handcuff, right? Ooh. Doesn't that mean, you know,
that captures some attention.
It looks like a true crime novel.
Yes.
Rather than like a textbook for kids. So if you can get a little creative with that, and again, I design all my own covers on a site called canva.com.
Love Canva.
Love
Canva. It. Love it. It makes designers out of all of us.
It totally does. Is that their tagline? Because it ought to be.
No, but hello, Canva. I'm not going to charge you too terribly much for that if you want to use it. But
and again, you know, avoid a shiny object, you know, pick one of these, you know, and this is, I go through several more examples in the book because, you know, stick with one, go in with your eyes wide open and understand that anytime someone offers, I'll build you a website. Okay. They just saved you $100 and you're giving them $2,000 for that.
Right. Right. You can do that.
I don't need your website. I need you to get me traffic to my website.
Right.
That's fine.
Exactly. Oh my God, you're so full.
Am I talking too much?
No, you're just blowing my mind though, and I'm confident you're blowing everyone's mind. And I've got all these questions, and I'm flipping through some of them because
for real,
we would be here forever. We would be here forever. I love this.
You tell me.
I love this. So okay, you keep mentioning this book, and first of all, you wrote a book, I think last year, that was quitting is an option.
Is an option, yeah.
Leaving your job and starting your own online business, which is super cool and like the precursor. And now you've got creating an online income stream, comparing opportunities and revealing the truth about what it really takes to succeed online. They're both available on Amazon. Big surprise. And I will include links, affiliate links, of course, to those in the show notes. First of all, I love that title, and I love everything. I mean, we talked a little bit before I hit record this time. That as you said, like you're pulling back the curtain on this, and what I referenced having fallen prey to is all the scammers, and what you're doing is talking about all these different opportunities in such concrete fashions as to what you could actually expect to make, what the downfalls are, where you could screw up, you know, risk factors, degree of difficulty. Yeah. It's so good. That is exactly what we need. And just let me just give a little bit of an analogy, because I think you and I are very like-minded. And when I started PGP and I started interviewing experts and asked folks to come on and do workshops and whatnot, when I interview folks, I tell them ahead of time, we're going to talk about numbers. We're going to talk about the job you left and what you've started and what you're making and what kind of health insurance you've got, because these are the things people need to know that nobody ever freaking talks about. And so then you get all excited about doing something and you have to get into it before you realize, oh, wow, there's really not money in it, or I didn't recognize all these problems I was going to run into. I love that you are just breaking stuff down. You're telling people opportunities, but you're breaking it down and you're making it so the layperson can make an educated decision on what they should try. I love that.
Yeah. And I mean, there's things that make you a lot of money, but they take a lot of work. And there's other things that don't take as much work that will still make you a lot of money with time. And then there are things that are so low risk that if you're even thinking about it, like this low or no content book, which normally I wouldn't recommend, but really it's not that hard to test it and see what happens. Maybe you think you've got this niche that no one else knows about. And if you get a sale the first day, you're like, oh, wait a minute.
Ahead of the game already.
And then it's nothing. It is nothing then to create a series of those kind of books. I mean, it's, you know, the site Fiverr.com, Fiverr.com. I mean, there was a guy who would shout your name into the bushes and record himself doing this, and you would pay him $5. He
Yes.
had something like 17 5-star reviews, which means at least 100 people hired him, right? So, I mean, type in coloring book maker.
Yeah.
You know, type in ghostwriter.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I've used Fiverr myself many, many times. In fact, I think one of my logos was made by somebody on Fiverr too. So you do kind of have to screen a bit. There's, as with everything, there's good and bad, but you can get good and cheap.
You can get good. There's Upwork if you want someone more full-time. Onlinejobs.ph, hire my mom. I mean, there's a lot of platforms for this that, you know, especially for the tech stuff. I mean, that's what I always recommend.
Yes, because tech can be overwhelming and scary and stop people.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, your point is it doesn't have to be with a lot of this stuff. And again, back to your book, what a wonderful resource, because you start with that and you learn, you know, you started out saying you can make a lot of money, but some of these things are a lot of work. And my audience, my community is people with chronic illness. We need to dial that shit down. It needs to be less work, more taking care of ourselves. But yet we've got to make money. So that's kind of the whole thing. Like that's the criteria. Something that's not going to kill you working. You can make money, generate an income, but take care of yourself. And you've just given so many examples.
If something resonates with you, it feels less like work.
Yes.
And then there's so many things you can outsource, like that Amazon wholesale. You know, I started in it and something else took off, but I have friends that are doing it that are in their 70s and no problem at all. And they're actually taking it to their house still and doing stuff because they enjoy it. The wife and he get together and do it. But, you know, you can hide when you get to the point where that entire thing can be outsourced.
Right. Yeah. It is mind blowing when you start thinking in terms of how would this fit into my life? If you allow yourself, some space to dream a little bit, and
creative.
Be creative. Get outside that box. And that's not saying you have to jump and do anything, but I mean, read Elena's book and get some ideas and know what you're dealing with. And then from that point, you can make some, you know, educated decisions. I like that.
And that's what I sat down and said, you know, I want to give people to the quitting as an option is, you know, really my story. I basically list, you know, what the opportunities are online. I don't give you a whole lot of detail. This book is the book I wish I had. And that's what I have set out in the last 3 years. Like, what struggles did I go through and how can I keep someone else from struggles? So the first thing was writing this book that said, this is what's there. And the second thing is creating the mastermind to help people once they decide what to do. You're going to pay money to be in a course. You're going to pay money to learn how to do this. Yes. And you are. And listen, you've paid money for almost everything you've ever learned, right? But you can come to a place where there are people who've done all these platforms who can say, okay, you know, they tell me to build a website. Okay, here's the guy I use. He charges $75. I don't understand what this means. Oh, this is what this means. Can you record yourself putting a plugin on a WordPress site? Yeah, we'll give you that Loom video. So that's what the mastermind is.
Good.
Just
so good.
You know, the roadmap. I feel like the book is the roadmap. The mastermind is like the tour guide.
Yeah.
You know? But you have to pick, are we going to look at the pyramids? Are we going to look at the Hanging Gardens of Babylon?
Right.
You pick that, and you know, when you go to the pyramid, you know, it's going to take this many steps and it's going to cost you this much because you've seen it in the book.
Right.
There, you know, it'll be like, oh yeah, if you go to the left, I don't know, you probably can't climb pyramids, can you? I'm thinking of, but you know what I'm saying.
Not yet. So, okay, let's get back to your book there for just a second, because I love that book kind of clarifies mastermind to support is how I would say that. So back to the book, you told me you have a special gift for the PGP listeners.
Yes, you can. When the book is well, there's a link that you're going to have in.
I will put it in. Yes.
I'm going to give you the PDF and you can share that with, let's say, a certain number of people, as long as they share that with each other, so that I do get to sell some of them.
100%. Yes. I will put something in the show notes about what I come up with, like the first however many are going to get this, but yay. And that's very exciting.
I'm not sure because I've not created, I've only written the one book myself. So I've not created a coupon for it. So I don't know if there could be a specific day where I make it $0 and everybody can come and buy it that day. Or if I give you a coupon code, or if I do the PDF. I'm a little concerned about the PDF just because it's so shareable,
Yeah.
but
Well,
one
we'll
of those,
work through this little part. We will work through
we're
this
going to work through this part.
and
Yes.
just
So,
know that there will be some kind of gift for you in
correct.
one way or the other
It will
surrounding the
be
book.
delivered in some way, but the gift is
Yes.
there on the table.
Excellent. Well, thank you for that.
Yeah, of course.
So tell
I think what you're doing is amazing, by the way. And it's just so up my alley in terms of, wanting to give back and wanting to help people, because you could be spending all your time just working on the things that, you're generating income from, and you're opening and not just your time, but, you're being vulnerable about what's happening and what's going on in your life and how hard it can be in the situation you're in sometimes, and the difficulties specifically that y'all face. And I think that's huge.
Thank you. Oh, I appreciate that. I'm trying to keep my tears from falling right now. That's very, very kind of you to say. Thank you. Um, I love my chronicpreneurs, and I just want to help as many people. I'm just like you. I bet your mantra is just like mine, which is I want to help as many people before I die.
Oh
Period.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
easy. And I get up in the morning and I think the acronym HOPE, help one person every day.
Oh, I like that.
And if I can go to bed and feel like I've done that, which PGP has generally given me that gift, I feel like it's been a good day, regardless
Yeah.
of the pain
Yeah.
or the numbness or whatever I'm dealing with. If I can help somebody.
It's rewarding. I mean, it's selfish on
Yes.
my part in a lot of ways too, because
100%. Doesn't it
yeah.
feel selfish to help somebody because it feels so damn good, right? You're like,
Well, and
yeah.
it alleviates all the guilt I have for leaving the other folks, and I had somebody when I first started this say this to me, and I fight against this very dramatically. They say, well, at least these people that you're helping now are worth helping. And I'm like, because the other
That's
people were accused of a crime.
horrible. Oh my
I just, if,
gosh.
I ever in my life fail to see the humanity in someone, no matter what they've done, just come and shoot me. It's like,
Right.
I've never looked at a client, no matter what they did, and didn't say, this is someone's brother, this is
Yeah,
someone's
somebody's
son, this is someone's
child.
kid.
Yes, that's
And it
awful.
just, so to me, that has nothing to do with it. And then there might be someone who just is like, I don't want to go to school, I don't want to go to college, I'm too lazy. Okay, I'll help you too. I think
It's
it's
so
great.
good. It's so good. It's so
We've
good.
talked
Yes.
before about this generation now and the options that they have,
Oh,
and not just
unreal.
because they're online, but specifically women that, there are women that have grown up, like the last 20 years or 10, women who have grown up into adulthood have always seen women business owners, have always seen examples
I
of women
know.
millionaires. And that's, my parents were much older. My mother had secretary, nurse, or teacher. And
Mm-hmm.
she was thrilled that I wanted to be a lawyer. I could do anything,
Yes. Yeah.
but
We
I
didn't
never
have
heard the word
models
entrepreneur.
growing up.
We did not
No,
have
we did
entrepreneurs of
not.
women,
Truth.
even in the online days of making money online. I cannot count the number of times where I was the only woman on stage,
Yeah.
to this day,
I
to this day.
know.
And
Yeah.
I will still, like, sometimes I'll see posters of people advertising an event, and I'll comment, I'm like, oh, is this a men only event? Right? I
Good.
mean, in
Good
the
for you. Yes.
or there'll be 20 men and 2 women online. And,
Mm-hmm.
and one of them is teaching you, and this, they're the women that I see on some of them don't own their own business. They are like, I don't know what you call it, but they help people find other people, which is great,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which is great. But I want people who are making money on there too. I want them both. I think there's a
Yes.
table for everyone.
I
And
totally agree.
I think we need to see that.
I
And so,
totally agree. And you just made me realize something when you went through that about when we were growing up and we didn't have models and I didn't know a woman that owned a business. And now I'm feeling really good that I showed my daughters that that's possible and that's what I
100%.
chose to do.
Yeah.
Thanks. Now I'm feeling all
No,
kind of
that's a
feels.
big deal. In fact, I put that in one of my books, that you're just modeling behavior of self-sufficiency, of confidence building, of, just following your dream.
Yeah.
I,
Right, right,
it,
right.
you know,
Yeah, and making the best of it. If you're a chronicpreneur in particular, for me it was I could no longer work for someone else. I couldn't getting up every day, getting dressed, driving in,
yeah.
being there all day, driving home. My body said no. And so I always say my paychecks quit coming and my bills didn't. So I needed to figure out
There you go.
how to make it work. And I did. And now I'm
Well,
just
and
sharing
also
with
so many
others.
people like that, and you're different because you were in this internet business mastery with us, but
Yes.
they don't think they have business skills. And it's like, are you kidding me? If you were a waitress, you have business skills.
Yes.
If you are a mom of more than one child, even one
Yes.
child, you have business
Yes.
skills. Are you,
Right.
you know, and I'm not just talking about running the bake sale. I'm talking about, you know, coordinating project managers. And,
Yes.
you know, you might have to go through this learning curve, but everything you know how to do now, take driving. I mean, at one point that was scary. We didn't know how to do it. Now it's like second nature. So if you give
Yes.
yourself permission to have beginner's mind and look stupid for a few months,
Yep.
the rewards are just going to pay off, because
So
so
big.
many of these things that I've described, you can outsource to someone once you learn
Yes.
how to do it.
Yes, exactly. But definitely do it before you outsource this, because even just
100%.
having the right language cuts down on the likelihood of you being ripped off by a scammer. Just
And
understand the process.
as you
Yes.
do it, like, let's say you're learning how to, like, you know, drag and drop a design onto a
Yeah.
t-shirt platform. So the first
Yes.
time you do it, it's really funky. The third time you do it, I want you to record yourself doing it, because then you have
Oh,
what's called an SOP. You have a standard
yes.
operating procedure that you could send to someone and say, this is how you do it.
100%. And let
Yeah.
me tell you, that's a great point. I have a ton of SOPs because I have cog fog. And I will forget how to do things.
Mm,
And I have really bad cog foggy days, and I'm not going to remember how to do something. But I do remember that I have made SOPs for every flippin' thing I do. And I can go over there and pull it and watch it or read it or whatever and remind
brilliant.
myself, instead of having to go ask somebody, which was, it was like a stake through my heart every time I had to do that. It was like, I know this is so dumb. I should know this. I do this all the time. But and having to explain, I have MS and I have blah, blah, blah. Anyway, SOPs,
Yeah.
bomb.
Checklists for
Yes.
ourselves, SOPs for others. Yeah, I do that still. I do
Yeah.
it for every new thing I learned, like, you know, because there's some things that, oh, remember to uncheck this box, right? Like Fiverr, for instance, you
Right.
order something on Fiverr and you don't uncheck a box, then they can use that in that goes on their listing, which is great for a logo, because you want to help the person out and show off the logo. But sometimes you have
Right.
like proprietary stuff and
Right.
you don't want them
You
showing
don't
it to
want it
other
on
people.
there.
And
True.
you can't go back on that.
Yeah.
Once you leave that box check, that's up on their listing from now on. So,
Yeah. So
I mean,
good to
so
remember.
little things. Yeah.
Yes.
Post-it notes all over the desk.
Oh, I should show you mine. I got post-it notes everywhere. So can you talk a little bit about your mastermind group? What do you get when you get in there? Like, what's
Okay.
there?
First off, my partner is Todd Snively, what many of you may have heard of. He's one of the biggest Amazon wholesalers in the world. And he has a book called The Amazon Code, which you get for
Okay.
free. You come in and it is the best explanation I've ever seen of a platform in book form. And he's
Oh.
just finished a book called The Affiliate Marketer, which he tells me, sometimes he exaggerates. He tells me it's 800 pages, but
Oh.
essentially it's everything that you need to know about this. So every book we write obviously is there for free, but the main draw is it's a community of people. It's on a site called Mighty Network. And when you join, you tell us about yourselves, and we're able to get you accountability partners if you want. We're able to put you with people who are on the same path as you, because everybody's in a different, not everybody, but a lot of people are in different platforms.
Mm-hmm.
Todd and I have gone through nearly every platform, or we know a successful seller in that platform if we have not. So we bring in mastermind speakers if somebody shows an interest in a platform we don't have experience with. We're live Q&A calls twice a month. We're daily interacting. If you have a question, I mean, literally somebody wrote Todd the other day and said, you mentioned in the question and answer about WordPress, can you show me what you meant? And he literally recorded a Zoom video. And we do that all the time. We'll record a little video. If you can't make the Q&A, we'll talk it out for you. If you need some like that visual, we'll put it in there. We've got done for you templates that you can use. We've got email sequences that you can swipe, and they
So
live there
good.
from day one. You don't,
Yeah.
there's a
You
2-week
don't
free
earn
trial.
them.
You don't earn them. They don't drip. There's a 2-week free trial. And
That's great.
somebody said, well, we could just go in and download everything. And we're like, yeah, if we
You
don't show
could.
our work in 2 weeks, then you should. You should.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
after that, it's $69.99 a month. I mean, it is, basically
Yes.
Starbucks money to come in and have your hand held. And
So
we
good.
talked a long time about, do we make like a $3,000 course teaching people a specific thing? Like,
Mm-hmm.
people don't have $3,000 twice. They don't have that, or if they do, if you're going to spend $2,500 or $3,000 learning something, I would want, upfront to spend $70 or $150 having someone tell me, is this person a scammer?
Yes.
Is this a good course?
Yes.
They're not even scammers. A lot of people know how to do something, but don't know how to teach it.
Oh, 100%. Yes.
I'm going to teach you the alphabet. We're going to start at the letter J.
Yeah.
No. And I'm there when Todd gets that way. I'll be like, my SOPs, start with like, turn your computer on.
Right. Yes.
I do not have the curse of knowledge because I had 25 years of having to explain beyond a reasonable doubt.
Right.
12 strangers who all they had in common was a zip code, and one person might be a doctor and the other person a gardener and the other person and it's like you had to come up with these metaphors and explanations that made it such that everyone kind of grasped the concept. So we're really cognizant of that. We're also cognizant of people who are already doing something, but either they're stuck, or let's say they're at $50,000 a month, but they see online all these other people on the same platform at 80. And they're like, I don't know what I'm doing. All right, show us what you got. We'll tell you what you're doing.
Look.
Yeah.
So good. Oh my gosh. And I love the idea of reading your book first and really understanding what's out there and having some sort of a roadmap, and then getting in. And the other thing I wanted to say, okay, you said you considered doing, a big course. I did too, honestly.
Yeah.
But I think if we learned nothing more in COVID than that we need community and we need other people, I think particularly when you're learning something and trying something new, it is so helpful to know of a place to go where you don't feel dumb. You feel like you can ask your questions, and you can count on the people getting back to you and telling you, giving you the good knowledge, giving you the right answers.
Who are successful, who are not faking it.
Right. Yeah. It's just,
and we're in a closed community. So we'll tell you who we believe are scammers. I mean, Kathy's got a name she doesn't want to say online, which is fine. Right. But we're not, it's not public. If you say this, I'll say, you know what? I have 3 people who've been through that, and neither one of them. And the other thing, if you're an Uber driver, or you're a waitress, or you're a burned out nurse, or you're just, a 9 to 5er who just thinks, you know what, I have 3 or 4 hours on the weekend to do something, to learn something, then, we wanted it to be something that was like a no brainer. Like, hey, it's just $70 a month. Let's, we just want you
do
to
it on your time. Yeah.
Come in and see what's out there, and come in and see what, and just to have some, I mean, literally there were so many times when I was starting out that I just didn't, even now, and it's funny because Todd and I, we're just friends. So he makes fun of me all the time for stupid things. Like I was filming something the other day on the table, and you could see my socks. And he made a comment about my socks. And I was like, and it's fail forward.
Yeah.
We're a fun. Yeah.
Love
and then
that.
just to get inspiration, and then just to be able to say, hey, you guys, this happened today.
Yeah.
Yes.
Love that. Love that. I'm really looking forward to this. I'm very excited for to get in there myself and to read your book. You have dropped.
Yeah. But I want to make sure that we're not just talking about my book and my thing. And if there are questions that I can answer right now for anyone, I'm totally.
I appreciate that. You have dropped so many info bombs in this interview today, and yet you have offered to do a deeper dive live workshop inside the Patients Getting Paid membership. I'm so appreciative of this. I know that will be amazing, and give members the opportunity to actually ask you their questions live. Sure. It's just so very generous of you. And FYI to the listeners, that workshop will be recorded and remain inside the membership for whenever you make the decision to join us. So there are a number of workshops in there, and this one I'm just so excited to record and do with you and do live and have all the members be able to ask you their questions.
Right.
I just know we're going to see light bulbs going off over people's heads. And that's so exciting to me to see possibilities understood, and just and bringing that hope to people who oftentimes don't have a lot.
And I would love for your community to just say, to you, between now and when we schedule it, these are the kind of things I want to know, so that I can, maybe there's something I can do a little research on,
100%.
Someone asked me about domain flipping the other day. I mean, I know what it is conceptually.
Yeah.
I also know someone who does it really well. So if there's a specific question on that, just give me a heads up on that. Everything else will be off the top. But if there's something you think is obscure, but you've always wondered about, the one thing I also have from being in this community for a long time, I have a reputation of putting people together in terms of networking, and I have put people together who have made millions of dollars with each other,
Yay.
just from my introducing them to each other.
Right. Well, you're such a resource.
I'm trying to be for them. And I have a event on August 21st in Las Vegas. If anyone goes to the ASD or you just happen to live in Las Vegas, August 21st, Sunday night, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. It's free. It's networking. If you're there and there's someone you want to meet, I'll invite them. If it's a guru you want to meet, if you're a guru and you want to meet another guru because you think you can do this. And that's what I've always done. And so there's very few like experts in the field that will not take a call from me and answer a question. And as part of our community, who will not do what you're doing with your community is get them to actually have a teaching session, because they know that, you know, at some point I'm going to do something really good for them just because I know these people. So I'll open up my Rolodex for this workshop as well. If you have something obscure that we haven't touched on that you want me to bring in, I'll answer for you.
Excellent. So if you're not a member, now's a really good time to join, because you want to be able to get in there and take part of in this live workshop that Elena is going to do. Elena, I cannot thank you enough for being here today and sharing your path to online success, your book, your community, and your heart with my community. If they want to learn more about you, where is the best place to find you?
Best place to find me, if you're not part of my mastermind community, is probably on Facebook. I don't take a lot of DMs because I get so many. So really, I feel like it's going to be the community. I don't want to be like, oh, you have to pay to have access to me.
No. But
that's the best place.
How do they find, where is your community? What's that URL?
Profitsonline.community. Wait.
Nope.
Onlineprofits.community. So.
Nope. It's createprofits.online. That's what I've got.
Oh, no. It's profits. This is so funny. So this is me just showing you how bad I am, because I had somebody do a redirect.
Okay. Then
because I don't know how to do it.
Okay. Let me just say to Steve, my editor, you can get rid of all this, and I'm going to ask her one more time when she pulls it up. And so we have it straight.
But leave a little so people know how dumb I am and how you can become a successful. I think it's online. Yeah, it's onlineprofits.community.
Okay. So, Elena, thank you so much. If people want to find out more, where do they go? What's your URL for your community, your mastermind community?
Onlineprofits with an S .community.
Excellent. Okay.
Onlineprofits.community. Yeah, that's the best place.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for sharing everything, your knowledge and your heart. What people don't know
is we've been texting since 2013, and this is the first time we've really got to sit down and talk.
It's crazy. That is so crazy, and that speaks volumes to the online world as well. But we've kept up with each other all these years.
I feel like I've watched your kids grow up. I mean, it's like, oh, so-and-so got into college.
I know, isn't that crazy?
Somebody's singing. I mean,
yes. All those things are true. And now she's graduated and moving on to a big girl job. Yay! All right. Well, thanks so much. Really appreciate you. Thank you for helping my community. And I look forward to doing that deeper dive workshop.
I can't wait. That'll be fun.
Great. Take care.
Okay.
Thank you.
Care.